Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the New York Comic Con exclusive Truforce Collectibles Mega Man X figure, part of the designer series. Here's the packaging. We'll take a look at this real quick. You can see the Truforce logo up there, this kind of stylized Mega Man right there, or Rockman if that's what you want to call him. So this is the X Kai, different color scheme, New York Comic Con logo printed on. So there's no stickering there, so that's cool. Then we have some posing options in the back here, which we will kind of just look at as we look at the figure. More artwork there. Standard stuff at the bottom, standard stuff at the top. Cool thing about this, it's a window box, which once you have the figure inside, it's a nice black blister, so that's really cool. And then you get some of the turnarounds here. So the artwork and some designer comments. If you want to pause that and look at that, you can do that. It's nice, really nice packaging, and the quality of the blister is really good. Also, that's always a nice thing. Important thing to note about this guy before we get into it, he has a decent batch of accessories. He does require batteries. They do not come in the figure, but they are in the packaging, so don't forget to install those batteries. There are instructions for that. Nice that they included them. Okay, so the figure stands roughly 15.5 centimeters, which makes it roughly 6 inches, which is what they promised. 6-inch scale X figure, which is what this is. He's exactly 6 inches tall, so he will be lots bigger than the D-Arts ones, or SH Figure Arts ones. So don't ask me to compare them. They're not comparable. Not even close. Price points are way off. Style is way off. Size is way off. Alright, this guy has a bunch of accessories, so let's look at that before we go into anything else. The first thing I want to look at is the display stand. So it's interesting in that we have two of these stands, the parts that actually hold the figure or the blast effects. It's a different type of display stand other than the upright. The upright is pretty much standard traditional 3 hinges. The cool thing about the claw at the top is it has little tabs on it. You see those tabs? So those serve two purposes. They prevent it from spinning too far in either direction this way, or if you look at this part, we have two little receptacles for those tabs. So you can lock that in by keying those in right there. It won't twist. So if you want to lean him or something like that, you can use those tabs to make sure that the weight of the figure doesn't just rotate the clip, if you want to call it that. So otherwise, this part's pretty standard. This bottom piece is a little bit different in how it connects, but we still get our swivel down here. This swivel is a hexagonal, so you'll hear, you won't hear it, but you'll feel the kind of clicking. The rest of it's just standard smooth pressure joints, and you can adjust them with those screws. Just be careful not to over tighten them. So how this works is these tab into the sides, around the side of the base, and it kind of actually snaps in, and you can go around in different options. One thing I'm not too clear about is why it's a separate piece, and maybe it's not supposed to actually come out, I don't know, but you can, at least on this one, take this top piece off, which is just clear plastic. Then you get this piece here, which is still, the grid's still on the bottom, so, well, it's actually internal, so you can't really feel it too much. It's, if you use your fingernail you can, but, and these still work, so I'm not sure. You get a little bit of a gap here, so you probably don't want to do that. I'm just not sure why that comes off. Maybe it's just part of the production and they didn't want to put glue in there because glue looks bad on clear plastic, which is my guess. So I would leave that in there. I don't believe it's meant to come out as far as functionality goes. So then you can use these in any combination you choose. For the blast effect or for the figure itself, it's all up to you. So really nice display stand, has some nice weight to it also. So that's cool. We also have this piece, which I will get into later when we look at the blast effects. It's not part of the display stand, even though it looks like it is. We have some interchangeable hands. So we have our fist hands, standard fist hand on either side with some nice sculpt work at the knuckles and all that kind of stuff. Looks pretty good. So we have our fist hands, and then we have our style pose hands, as I like to call them, which are perfect for Mega Man. They look exactly as they should, nicely sculpted, nice styling. Good finger arrangement. We of course have our thruster flap thingies for the back, and I'll show you how these work really quickly. So all you have to do is pull this piece off. I found it easiest to grab it from the bottom and kind of just pull away, and then you can tab these in right in place. If you can do it on camera like I'm having trouble, bonus points for you. So those just go in place like that, and it's not actually in all the way. I can't see what I'm doing. get in there. There we go. So it'll actually snap into place. And then you have the opened vents on his back, which are nicely detailed. And you can do the same thing on the other side, and they just pop right out. And you can take these out and put the standard ones back in just as easy as it is to get these in. But if you want to put them in more of a dynamic pose, that will help significantly. So they just come right back out like that. Very nicely done. And you can tell you're not going to have any trouble figuring out which one goes where, because they have letters on them and they have specific tabs and little button type pegs. So no problem at all. Very nicely engineered, this figure all the way around. We'll get to some awesome engineering in just a minute, but they did a good job with these. I don't know if I tabbed that in. I can't really tell since I'm looking through the camera screen. Okay, so we have that. Now the other feature on this guy is these back, we have some more accessories, we'll get to those. These flaps open up and he has thrusters, and you can kind of see right there and on the inside of the leg and on this leg also. You can grab it and pull out. I can't get this to come out, and since this figure, I bought it for a friend of mine, as much as I'd like to play around with it to try to get this open, I'm going to leave it alone until I find out more about the figure. So I can't show you guys, unfortunately, as of right now, how this thruster thing works in the back. I can't get that open for some reason. If I figure it out, I will let you know. Alright, so we also have an alternate face. We have the standard face here, which has really nice detailing. The paintwork on this guy is at least on par with Figma, maybe even better for the eyes. Very clean. Then we have the standard face, which is this one right here. And then we have the yelling face, which will go awesomely, wonderfully with the Buster. So we have that. Speaking of the Buster, we have the Buster. So this is where you need to put the batteries in, obviously, and it gives you directions on how to do that. Make sure you follow the directions, but you can do that. And the Buster does light up. However, I'm having a little bit of trouble with the switch. So you rotate it to turn it on, and it snaps into place like that. But then sometimes it doesn't want to stay on. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure. Based on how it's designed, I'm guessing it's just very tricky because of how you have that twisting mechanism and the springs inside to actually make the contact. But it does light up, and it's a very nice red LED once you can find that sweet spot to get it to stay lit, and then you just turn it to turn it off. And how you interchange this on the figure is just as you would expect. It's a standard peg in the elbow, and you can do it on either side, of course. Be careful though, you don't want to just yank on it, even though it doesn't take a ton of pressure, but you're going to have to pull a little bit. So give it a tug gently, and then you can re-peg this in. And look, notice where the peg hole is. Hopefully you can see that. It's at the very top of the joint. So make sure you're lining it up properly, and make sure you hear that snap when you peg it in. So once you get that in, you've got your Buster, and he's got really nice range of motion in the elbow. We'll talk about that more as we go. And then lastly, we have our blast effects, which is a combination of this piece, which, by the way, super crystal clear purple plastic. It's so translucent and nicely done. And this part and this part are both rather desaturated compared to the other part, and this already looks great. So we have those two pieces, and then we get the major blast effect, which is even more purple. Come on, camera. Even more purple and awesome. It looks just fantastic. So you can put this on his hand, kind of like this, and then you can peg the, and I'll take photos so you can see at the end because it's a little awkward right here. So you can push that on. You can have that blast effect, which is cool. Or you can pull this piece out, just give it a little wiggle, that'll come out, the tip, and then you put this piece in, the one I mentioned earlier, and that will go in right there. It's keyed, so you don't have to worry about how it goes. You'll see. So that goes in there, and it's just a clear piece, and now you can connect these two. Takes a little bit of pressure, but they will connect if you line them up properly. I'll just leave it like, yeah, it's connected now. And now you get the big blast effect. So you can either leave it like that, which I wouldn't. I would put this back on, because now you get the giant Buster blast effect, which is just fantastic. And as far as making it light up goes, I haven't tried it yet. Let me get the thing turned on. Alright, and it's really bright in here, but you can see, you get the idea. It's kind of flickering because I have it in between the sweet spot and not the sweet spot, but it does definitely send some red light through there. I'll try to get some photos of it with it off, with the lights off, so you can see. But it's very nicely done, looks very cool. It's just that matter of finding that sweet spot for the switch. Okay, so let's talk about the figure. First, let's talk about paint. Everything that's painted is done wonderfully well. No complaints at all. The golds are nice and gold. The gunmetal black is a nice gunmetal black. The grays, the other blacks, everything on there is super clean, really nicely done. The only tiny issue is on these orange parts, this kind of macaroni and cheese orange, the neon orange that goes through there. There's a little bit of pooling, like right here on the top of the foot. It's not super noticeable, I just happened to notice it as I was looking at the figure, so no big deal, I just figured I'd mention it. We have a lot of these little details throughout the figure, so this one says caution, heat source, very, very tiny. It's hard for me to even read in camera, but I don't think I can focus any better than that. Maybe with the new camera I'm getting. And then on this side we have some, it says auto balancer inside. On the tops of the knees we have some that says propellant inside. On the buster we have little X Buster logo and something else I can't read. And then on this side it says caution, hot, maybe hot something. It's very tiny. And then we have some writing on here, beware of blast, and energy tank inside. It also says beware of blast down here on the feet. On the helmet we have some writing. It's just loads of detail in this guy. Really can't complain at all. It says, looks like it says caution, but again it's so tiny, which is fine. I mean, not being able to read it's not a problem. It's so small, it just looks like it's supposed to be like that anyway. And it says counter hunter, and it says that's so small, central control system inside. So just loads of detail, and you can see how clean the paintwork is going down the body and on these little orange bits. Everything looks just the way it's supposed to. It's really fantastic. And then we have the gems in the ears and on the front of the helmet. Obviously we have the light up LED in the hand, and then we have the gems and more nice detailing work in the feet. Another feature which you may not be aware of is he does have some die-cast parts throughout. Definitely some in the feet, and I think they might have said there's some in the chest, I don't remember anymore, but he's got some serious weight to him, and it's definitely down in this bottom half for the most part, so he won't have any trouble standing on a shelf. As far as articulation goes, this guy is just really well done. The head itself is on a double ball peg on top of the neck, so it can move around really nicely. The neck itself can move forward and back, so you won't have any trouble posing this guy at all. It's gonna just be wonderful. The shoulder pads are on their own hinge on top of the shoulder, so they won't get in the way too much. The shoulder has a standard hinge built into it, but also the socket, and it's kind of hard to show you, especially since it's all black. The socket has a hinge inside going up and down also, which will give you a little bit extra range of motion, and it has a butterfly joint that lets the arm come out, and you can see the joint itself is sculpted to look like a gear or a cog, so you get some pretty nice range of motion there. Of course the shoulder pad might get in the way a little bit for that kind of posing, but you're probably going to bring the arm around like this anyway, which, look at that. How many figures have that nice of a butterfly joint? And it doesn't even look too bad on this guy, mostly because it's Mega Man, but still really nicely done. Another awesome feature on this guy is the bicep swivel. It's inside that gray cup of the bicep, so it hides the joint really nicely and looks fantastic. The elbows are double jointed elbows, so you can bring the arm all the way up like that, almost a full 180, almost completely. My only gripe with the elbow is it's a little narrow. It's a little flat looking, but the range of motion more than makes up for that, so I'm okay with that. The upper torso feels like a double ball peg. I haven't pulled it apart to check, but we get really nice range of motion all the way forward, about 45 degrees forward. We can bring him back pretty far also, side to side, nice range, full rotation. Be careful with the rotation though, because he is wider than he is thick, so you don't want to press that too much, but I guess you don't have that much rotation. Just be careful with that. You can do it, and I just don't want to force it since it's not my figure, but it'll go a little bit farther than that. And then for the lower torso, we get another ball peg, so he can lean around in every direction there, and you can get more rotation out of him there as well. The hands, I didn't mention it, but they're pretty standard. Just a fixed ball peg gives you the standard range of motion that you would need for the hands. For the hips, we have, it's fairly stiff, so be aware that if it is stiff, just don't just crank on it. Be careful with it so you don't break anything. But even though the legs are really heavy, the hips generally are strong enough. You might find like a soft spot where it might not hold it, like right there, maybe it'll slide a little bit. But for the most part, it holds really nicely. And you can bring the legs forward. Just be careful, again, it's pretty stiff. Not quite all the way out, but more than enough. And it's a nice looking joint. We have our thigh swivel built in right there, so that's pretty nice. Now the knees really shine on this figure. I was a little bit worried looking at how they engineered this based on the photos in the very beginning, but it's just a fantastic job they did on these knees. So if you look, you can see we have double joints back here, and who knows what is going on in here. And as we bend the knee, those joints kind of bend at different times. This piece completely separates in the front and pulls out. This joint pulls forward on the knee, and this flips forward a little bit, and we end up with a fully bent knee without any huge gaps or anything like that. It's very mechanized looking, but that I think is okay for Mega Man, and we get this part that sleeves inside. So as you bend the knee back, you can see it all tucks in on itself. Very nicely engineered. Very, very well done. That's awesome. And then for the ankles, another really nice job of engineering. We get this kind of compound joint. So you can see here, the ankle joint itself is this big chunk, and it pegs in going forward. Hopefully you can, let me turn my flashlight on my phone so you can see what we have going on inside. Hopefully this will help. Is it on? Yeah, a little bit. So you can see this joint in here, it pegs forward into the front of the foot, and that allows the whole assembly to rotate and move around. But then this is also a ball hinge, so that will flex around and bring the foot all the way forward, all the way back, and then where that ball hinge connects is a ball peg. Let's see if I can show you that a little bit better. Yeah, there you go. So you can see the ball peg in there. So this ball hinge at the corner of the phone has a ball peg that goes into the foot. So the entire assembly can move around and allow for the foot to give you a really nice ankle rocker. You can bring the foot all the way forward. You can bring it all the way back. You really shouldn't have any trouble posing this guy at all. It just, everything works so nicely. And then if you want to swap out the faces, I didn't mention this because I figure I don't really need to, but I'll show you anyway. You just slide the whole front of the helmet off. Not too difficult at all. Sometimes it'll come with it, sometimes it won't, but the face just pegs in or tabs in right there, and you can slide the helmet back on, which I can do for you right now. So let's get the face out of there, and we just slide this back on like so. And there you go. Very, very nicely done. Absolutely pleased with this figure. The only real problem is that I can't figure out how to get these open right now, and that the light in the buster is a little intermittent. But otherwise, this thing is just fantastic. Easily worth the money. Just a really, really solid figure. The guys at Truforce, Jared, you guys did a great job. Can't wait to get my standard looking X, the blue one. That's going to be great. Fantastic figure, guys. Stick around for the photos here at the end, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.